Hey guys, in this video let's take a look at some of the secrets that can help you earn more on Shutterstock as a stock photographer. And these tips and tricks that I go over today will apply to other stock photography platforms like Adobe Stock, Getty and others. Stock photography has been a challenging business lately. Still, if you use some of our tips from today, it will help you succeed as a stock photographer. It's not a secret that stock photography is a numbers game. Creating lots of content is key. But how do you do that?
Traveling is the best way to create lots of content on the fly, but not everyone can travel often. Well, COVID-19 was sort of like a life experiment for us on this. Traveling was pretty much out of the question at that time, so we had to be creative about it. We focused on things that were around us. The most obvious one was our home. For instance, we leaned on photographing food made at home. Many times these photos sell well for us.
Also, my wife and I often photograph each other, but if you're doing stock photography solo, you can use tripod as well as timer for self-portraits. We included a link to a reliable and our favorite tripod that we use all the time. Also, depending on where you live, you can explore and photograph many things just in your neighborhood, and that's what we often do.
If you reside in a big city like Miami or London, you have plenty of subjects to photograph. We love doing street photography. We have a large amount of content from it, both commercial and editorial.
Now, to create lots of content, there's one crucial problem to solve, and that is to have camera handy. They say that the best camera is the one that you have with you. And we are fans of full-frame interchangeable lens cameras, but they tend to be very bulky and not always practical to carry around with you. When my wife started out in stock photography, she wanted something lightweight but professional and full-frame camera. After searching and searching on internet, we came up upon Sony RX1R series compact full-frame camera, and the current version is RX1R Mark III. Even though it's a small camera, it's a beast in disguise. Sony RX1R Mark III is excellent in low-light situations with its f.2 35mm fixed lens. The camera also records 4K videos, which are very important for stock footage on stock photography websites. My wife has built a portfolio of 20,000 stock photos on Shutterstock and other platforms with a solid income. And of course it took several years. But this small Sony camera was instrumental for this achievement. Now, it's not cheap, but if you are serious about stock photography and your goal is something lightweight and professional gear, there are very few cameras like Sony RX1 Mark III. We left a link to this camera in the description down below. The other tip that we have is to watch out for exposure, but most importantly, noise in your stock photos. When we started out, most of our rejections were from lack of focus as well as noise, especially from Shutterstock and Adobe Stock. And so, if you're using incorrect light exposure or your ISO number is too high, that can ruin your stock photos.
Things like tripod can help, but it's not always feasible. For this reason, it's good to invest in high-quality lenses with f-stops like f2 or even f1.4. These lenses are perfect for low-light scenarios.
If everything else fails, you can still correct the sharpness or noise post-production in the software. And Adobe's Photoshop does a pretty decent job with its native tools. But sometimes even these tools are not good enough.
For this reason, we use Topaz PHOTO plugins. They do an excellent job of denoising and sharpening photos that are otherwise unrepairable. Topaz also offers a similar version of software for videos. We left a link to Topaz Labs software that we love and use often.
The other tip that we have for making more money on Shutterstock is to avoid submitting a lot of similar looking content. And many of us are guilty of that, especially as a new stock photographer. You take tons of photos of the same subject and then you submit it all at once. But here's the problem. For starters, the Shutterstock will likely reject many of your similar looking photos, and you'll be just wasting your time editing them. But even if your photos somehow slip through the cracks and get approved, there's another problem, and that is that lots of photos that look similar of the same subject will dilute their value down the road. It is better to submit your best shot with the best composition to Shutterstock and just be done with it. When buyers search for your image, they will not be confused with results that all look similar. Instead, they will just go for your best shot. If you still insist on submitting many photos from the same photo shoot, here's what to keep in mind. Aim to submit stock photos of a subject that will look different. For instance, close-ups and wide angles photos of the same subject are totally fine.
The next thing to maximize your Shutterstock earnings is to make your content stand out. Things begin on the field even before you click the shutter release button. The lighting has to be right, either artificial or natural. Having a good composition and right exposure is a must. We often joke with my wife that our stock photos only got better after creating 10,000 images. For someone, the learning curve could be not that steep though. Recording your content in its raw format is a must. I would never rely on JPEGs. Same thing goes for videos. If you can record 10-bit or higher footage, that's ideal.
But things don't stop there. Editing is another crucial step to make your photos or videos stand out. And most of the time, native Adobe tools like Photoshop or After Effects are just totally fine. But we like to give our photos and videos an extra punch for more standing out.
For photos, we love and use Nik Collection filter plugins for Photoshop. The look they create is not that easy to reproduce on your own. Nik Collection has a 30-day trial period. Use our link below as well as Blocking Films code for 15% off.
The next thing on our today's list is keywords. I cannot tell you how important it is to up your game on keywording and titles. It made a huge difference for our sales on Shutterstock and other platforms. As many beginners, we made that big mistake of neglecting our keywords and titles. It was more of an afterthought than a deliberate effort. And most often, our keywords were like 20 or 30, sometimes random words. Titles were too short and not descriptive, and didn't have the necessary keywords at first. And so it was very frustrating after hours and hours of work, of editing, taking photos and such, to submit and only see your sales go nowhere. And that's when we learned about the importance of keywording. And these days we spend a lot of time on our keywords and titles for each photo. And there's a tutorial where we cover lots of things that you need to know about keywords and titles for stock photography. If you watch it and check it out, you will not make mistakes that we did.
The other tip we have is to upload consistently. The thing about stock photography is that it's not really a form of passive income. I mean, it is maybe for 5 or so years. But as your content ages on Shutterstock or Adobe Stock, it will get pushed down in search results. That will cause drops in your sales. That's why uploading new and fresh content is so important.
We aim to have 500 stock photos or 100 stock videos ready. After that, we stop our post-production and transition to keywords and titles, and after that we submit our content. It was not unusual for us to submit 500 stock photos each month or two, but you may have a different goal. Maybe submitting 100 or 200 stock photos each month could be more realistic. But either way, submitting often to Shutterstock and other stock photography platforms is very important. Only that can help prevent your stock photography income from dropping. And the final tip that we have for today is to submit different types of content on Shutterstock.
We started out with stock photos only, but later we realized that stock videos are very lucrative too. In fact, at some point my sales from stock videos overtook my image earnings on Shutterstock. Also think about branching out into time lapses too.
And that's all we have for today. We hope you can take some of our tips and apply them and increase your income on Shutterstock. What we learned after many years on Shutterstock, Adobe Stock and many others is that you don't have to create masterpieces to be successful in stock photography. Success comes from quality, consistency and a large number of content up for licensing. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe for more from us on stock photography in the future. Thank you for watching.